It's the team and the players that, while acknowledging the pressure involved, you either win or you lose and go home. But it's the guys that are going to be able to handle that pressure. It's the guys that don't take a stupid penalty, knocking somebody out of bounds on a punt return because, you got a little chippy 2 punt returns ago, and he talked about whatever, liking your mom in a way that you didn't think he should be liking your mom. So you got to put that behind you. You can't knock his ass out of bounds when he's too still. It's being disciplined and situationally aware of the big moment. And the team that handles that the best usually finds a way to win the game.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Broncos X's and O's, but this is the playoff edition. It is win or go home, and I am with KOA's own Dave Logan, the voice of the Broncos. Dave.
Who are you?
I'm Bennie Fowler.
Yes, you are. I want to make sure you give yourself credit.
I am Super Bowl 50 champion.
Yeah, I can't say that.
Bennie Fowler. We are now in the playoffs that started. Number one, just want to start. What did you think of this wild card weekend? Because this is probably some of the best football I saw. Close games, the matchups, the strategy, the way people were getting attacked. What did you think of this weekend?
I loved it. I think it's, honestly, if you're a football person, I think it's the best weekend of the season because you have wall-to-wall football.
Yeah.
And it's wall-to-wall football that really matters. Mm-hmm. I think in all those games, and they were all really competitive, except maybe the Patriots and the Chargers, not so much. Although that was a 9-3 game going into the fourth quarter, I think, or late in the third. So, but there's just a different, at least for me, there's a different feel to games like this. It's a different sound to it. The hits are different. They sound different. There's a little more impact throughout the course of the games, but I thought it was really good football, and I enjoyed it.
When you go back to your career just as a player, how many playoff games did you play in? Do you remember your first playoff game?
Yes, I do. I'm not sure. We didn't play in that many. I didn't play in that many. The biggest one, we got beat at home by the Raiders, and we had a bye. And from my standpoint, I got hurt in the last game on a long catch and run, and got an ankle rolled up on, and tried to play, couldn't play. And I honestly, I'm not sure I could have played the next week. But the magic of NFL doctors. You can play in 2 weeks. Right. So, we got beat by the Raiders. It was a frigid day in Cleveland, January of whatever it was, 81. And I think it was the second coldest playoff game in NFL history. The temperature was, right. The temperature, I think, was like 6, but the wind chill was right at minus 40. So it wasn't quite as cold as the Cincinnati-San Diego game, right, which was, I think, wind chill was like 59. But, man, it was so cold that you almost didn't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I love this and we need to win, but damn.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure we had heated benches. I think we did, but it was hard standing up, and guys are slipping all over, and you know what? And we threw a pick in the end zone with under a minute to go, down 14-12. And I really think had we won that game, we'd have gone on. The Raiders went on to play in the Super Bowl, beat the Eagles 27-10. So I'm a tad bit bitter all these years later, but nothing I can do about it.
Man, playoff games, a playoff game that cold is crazy. You talked about the playoffs. It sounds different. It feels different. The crowd sounds different even on TV.
Yep.
And when I think about, just the couple of playoff games that I played in, it is a different game. It is a different season. People move and they run faster because they know it's single game elimination. And when you look back at this weekend, you saw that. And you saw Carolina try to find different ways to beat the Rams. You obviously saw the comeback with Chicago, but playoff football is different. And I love what I saw. And to me, this, as we get into the Buffalo matchup, Denver versus Buffalo, it's going to be interesting to see. I also saw the theme. There were a couple different themes, which are always present every single week, was obviously turnovers this weekend, but quarterbacks making plays at the end of these games. Caleb Williams, young player, had to make plays at the end of the game. Drake May, young player, had to make plays at the end of the game. So Bo Nix against the Buffalo Bills, which he's done throughout the entire year, is going to have to make plays at the end of this game. It will be a tight game, and you have Josh Allen and those guys coming in here. But yeah, let's just jump into it. What did you see from the Buffalo-Jacksonville matchup?
Yeah, I thought Buffalo was really smart in the way they went at that, and I think you are seeing a different Josh Allen than what we saw maybe 2-3 years ago. It used to be where he would make so many big plays. He would make so many plays that other humans just can't make because he's 6'5" and 240 pounds, really athletic. He's strong. He's got a huge arm. I've always just really enjoyed his career. And honestly, I've rooted for him so many times. Won't be doing that on Saturday, but rooted for him just to get there and be able to have a chance to play in a Super Bowl. But I thought the game plan was really good. Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator, I think if you go back and look at that, there are times that he keeps 7 in, right? And Josh didn't try to force the ball downfield. They were very judicious in terms of when they took their shots downfield. And so I thought they had a nice setup to when, they call the play and you can get get a receiver in the seam down. You're going to go there more than likely. But he was willing to take the check down. James Cook is a good receiver. They've got 2 good tight ends. He didn't force the ball at all. And then when they had to have a drive, when Jacksonville scored with, I think, about 4 minutes to go, I was absolutely certain that Buffalo would drive down the field and score. Yeah. And Jacksonville's a good defense. Mm-hmm. We saw that here up close and personal in Denver. But Josh Allen, you don't want to put the game, if you're playing him, you don't want to put the game in his hands with 3.5 minutes to go and say, we're going to find a way to get a defensive stop.
Yeah. I think you're obviously 100% on the money when you look at that game. It was cool to see, Josh, you are pulling for him because he's such an incredible talent. And for whatever reason, in some of these big playoff moments, even when he's actually played well, they have lost the game. So he does have experience playing on the road and playing well on the road. And I think that's one of the things that Sean Payton will be highlighting, just as we get into this matchup of the Bills offense versus the defense. You talked about how they were methodical and how they picked their spots. Josh Allen was 28 of 35, which is very efficient for 273 and 1 touchdown. When you look at their offense and when you look at the way that he plays, he is Superman, but he is beat up. And I'm curious to see. I don't think he's be able to walk today. The touchdown that he scored, the first rushing touchdown that he scored, and he got bent up. That looked like a bad hyperextension. I thought he was going to be done for the game. I'm actually surprised that he played, but obviously, adrenaline and Toradol can help you get through that game. I'd be surprised if he's playing or not.
Toradol.
Did you guys have Toradol when you were playing?
How old do you think I am? Yes, we had Toradol.
I don't know. Toradol's that Superman. I couldn't believe it when I didn't know anything about Toradol.
I had a little bit today before I came.
So you're feeling good.
I'm feeling great. No, by the way, I did not have any Toradol. Although I'm just saying if there were some available. Anyway, Go ahead. And I'm going to shut the hell up.
Yeah. Well, I think I'd be surprised if he is. He's definitely getting treatment today, all day because he's definitely beat up.
Yeah, I think that he took a lot of shots, but that's sort of how he's played his career. I think he's been better the last year or so in avoiding some of those. But when you get to the playoffs and you have to score, you got to find a way to get in the end zone. So I think that the thing again that impressed me so much about what they did was how they did it. Jacksonville is good defense, right? And when they wanted to take a shot downfield, it's 7-man protection. So it wasn't a game where you're going to run what we used to call bingo protection. The back is released. You've got 4 receivers. They're released. The back is the 5th receiver. And so you're blocking with 5 offensive linemen. And that puts a lot of pressure on your offensive line and certainly your quarterback. So I thought the game plan was good. It was heavy in what I call scheme plays. The touchdown pass to the tight end, when they faked the little bubble screen, same play that Chicago had run the night before, very, very similar. Same concept. They schemed that thing up. And really the coverage was okay.
Yeah.
They were playing
tight window throw.
Yeah, match zone and short side, and he's got enough arm to put that thing there. So I think this is a fascinating matchup for both sides of the ball for the Broncos, and I can't wait for Saturday.
Let's dive into the matchups. Just talking about the receivers. Let's talk about receivers, because this is obviously what the Broncos are doing right now. They're not, because it is a Monday, they are not allowed to meet with their coaches. But tomorrow they'll start to get into the game plan, and they'll look at their first and second down, and then Sean Payton will present, and the offense will present, hey, who are the game wreckers? And Vance Joseph will also present this. Who are the game wreckers? So if you think about the game wreckers for the Buffalo Bills, you got Josh Allen, you got James Cook, and then you got Dawkins on the offensive line. I think those are your game wreckers right there. But if you're looking at the receivers, I don't think they're going to test Pat Surtain at all. I think they're going to go to Riley Moss, and how do you get Brandon Cooks or Keon Coleman on
Shakir?
But I think he's in the slot. So him and Jaquan.
Shakir, but I think he's in terms of the receivers. I think there's 2 guys that you've got to find a way to deal with, and going back and looking at tape. Can you sort of get a good handle on when some of those screens are coming? They're as good a screen pass team, I think, to wide receivers and primarily Shakir as any team we have in football. So he's the guy, especially at key times,
third and short.
Josh really relies on. And the other guy is relatively new. There is Brandon Cooks. You look at him, and he's been playing for a long time.
12 years, because Brandon Cooks and I came out at the same time, so it was year 12 for him.
And look at this. You're sitting here with me, and he's sitting there with Josh Allen. You got the short end of this deal.
No, not. I was undrafted. He's a first-round pick, so he's supposed to still be playing, right?
Well,
right. That's what they draft first-rounders for. He's been on. It's crazy to me.
He's been on a bunch of teams.
I wonder what that is.
I don't know,
because he's had like 1,000 yards with 4 different teams.
He's made plays everywhere he's gone.
Yeah.
He made plays. Yeah, he dropped the one over the middle, but the throw to get him down in position, the seam route, and that was an unbelievable throw by Allen with the guy right in his face. So I think Buffalo comes in. They'll take 2 or 3 shots deep with Cooks, and their mission is to figure out how they can get Cooks on Moss, because you don't want to take the shot on Surtain, I don't think. And then, again, Shakir is the screen guy, is the option route running guy. Really, I think he's really crafty in the slot.
Yeah, Shakir, like you said, but on Sunday he was, yesterday, 12 for 12 in terms of targets, 82 yards. He is their got to have it first down, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 1. They run these pick plays or they run these screens. So the matchup between him and Jaquan is going to be really interesting to see. They're going to be moving him around a lot. And then how does Vance Joseph, how does he play against these guys? Because Buffalo, they are a great run team. They have a great running back.
They do.
They lead the league in rushing touchdowns, but they do it out of 11 personnel. Broncos play a lot of zone to 11 personnel. When I was talking to one of the coordinators that you and I both know, they believe that Buffalo would try to go heavy 12 personnel with Knox and Kincaid, because if you have to find a matchup against this Broncos defense, it will be with the tight ends on Singleton and Greenlaw. How do you see that? How do you see that matchup playing up?
Yeah, I think they're right. I think that's exactly what they'll do. I think Cook will be involved in the passing game as well. To me, it gets back into, these guys, these coaches are going to spend 20 hours a day trying to come up with a plan that best gives their team a chance to get a hold of Buffalo. To me, I think you go back to, and I'm just wired this way, but you got to make sure that James Cook does not run for 154 yards, right? And he's a guy. He's a little bit unusual in this regard. He's stout enough that and willing enough that he'll run between the tackles. And when I say willing enough, there are some really good backs in the league that their preference is not to run very many times between the tackles. They're okay on outside zone. They're okay even on toss. This guy will do both, and he's willing to do both. But what makes him different in my book is that when he does get out, he's got sprinter speed. So he's stout enough that he can be the workhorse between the tackles. But if he gets out, I don't see a lot of defensive backs chasing this guy down. So to me, as great as Josh Allen, this sounds crazy, as great as he is, to me, if I'm running that defense, it all starts with James Cook. Our focus this week is James Cook. We cannot let James Cook beat us. And then you know what? You take it from there and you construct the layers of defense in order to deal with the passing game.
So, yeah, and I think that was Jacksonville's game plan because James Cook had 15 carries for only 46 yards.
Did a great job.
Yeah, they did an incredible job. Broncos' run defense has been great all season. And, with the exception of the Jonathan Taylor game. But, like you said, James Cook is in that upper echelon in terms of talent, scored the most touchdowns from a running back this year and also had the most yards. That will be, DJ Jones, Zach Allen, they got to have big games.
Yeah. You got to be stout inside. I think the Denver defense will be up to the task, right? I think that you got to get a hold of the run. The quarterback run game, even though he's beat up, that's viable with this quarterback. So, you've got to. It gets back into being really disciplined up front, and I think they will be reading pullers. And your run fits are going to be really important. But I think just making sure, because Josh Allen gets a lot of, and rightfully so, a lot of the pub. He gets a lot of shine with the kind of player he is. So I would want to make sure that our guys, if our coach in the defense, our guys are aware, like, hey, he's a great player. We're not going to forget about what's behind him, because that's the guy that takes pressure off of Allen and the passing game and the offensive line too.
Yeah. If you had to pick a player on the Broncos defense to have the best game for the Broncos to win, who are you picking? Is it somebody in secondary, linebacker, up front? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think you got to be smart how you rush him. He's not Lamar Jackson, but some of the principles I think will apply in terms of the cage rush. Because he's willing and he's smart enough and he's athletic enough that he'll step out. If you get too high on the loops, then the C gap becomes an issue. So one guy, maybe Jaquan. I think the nickel is going to be important because you're going to get Shakir. And how do you go about, what's the sort of game plan in terms of what we do with him? You got to disguise coverages. You got to be physical with the receivers at the line of scrimmage. And we'll get into the Broncos offense, but to me, the Broncos offense wears the hat this week, Saturday. They have got to show up. Hey, man, you have to do your part. You just do. Yep. This is not a game that, the Broncos defense, I think the Broncos defense will play well, but I think the Broncos offense can help that by staying on the field and, most importantly, making sure that they cap off scoring drives with touchdowns.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into the Broncos offense. I think for me, if I had to pick a player, it's going to be Talanoa Hufanga. And I think there are going to be opportunities and there are going to be moments where he's going to have to guard one of these tight ends and he's going to have to make a play. And shout out to Talanoa for coming on the show last week, but then also getting All-Pro honors. We talked about that. Broncos got the most All-Pros in the NFL. And Zach Allen and Hufanga on the defensive side. But I think Hufanga is going to have an opportunity. I think there will be an opportunity for him to get an interception in this game. And he's had his hands on the ball a couple times this year and hasn't been able to come down with it. But I think for them to win this game and to have the impact that they need to have to stop Josh Allen and this offense, I think he'll have to have a great game. And I think if he gets an interception, I think turnovers are just huge in this game. And also, I think, when you're just looking at the playoffs and the way that these games unfolded this past weekend, you have to be ready for anything and everything. These trick plays that some of these coaches came up with. New England, you saw Chicago running trick plays.
San Francisco.
Yep. How are you ready for the unscouted look?
Well, I think that that's where you sort of lean on your veteran, your players. Not every player in the NFL is an instinctive guy. Mm-hmm. They're all really good players. But you've got usually good teams have 2 or 3 guys on each side of the ball that are really, really just instinctive. They're a receiver that understands, against this coverage, when I come back on the curl route, I might have to slide inside a little bit because of the drop by the linebacker. So I slide to uncover. Whereas there are some guys who just run the route and they just stay covered, because the linebacker dropped. You've got to slide inside. Mm-hmm. So there's different ways that different players can be instinctive. But I think in terms of unscattered plays, you just have to have. It's got to be, from a defensive standpoint, it's got to be a lot of communication going on, mm-hmm. right? If you see, if you see a player in a spot that you haven't seen, over the 12 games that you've watched a film, it's like, wait a minute, that's a red flag, and then you should be barking out to everybody, whatever the alert call is. And I just think that if you look at this weekend's action, offense was really hit or miss. Mm-hmm. And I was struck by the fact that I know that Broncos fans from time to time have been pretty frustrated with the Broncos offense. And I get that. They've been inconsistent. Sometimes they look really good. Other times not the case. But, man, oh, man, look at these playoffs. What we have just witnessed from good. Chicago has an explosive offense, right? They had 3 points at home in the first half. Now, they came back to win it, I think, and the Packers played a huge role in that.
Embarrassing.
Right? But the offense, Trevor Lawrence had been as hot a quarterback as we had seen. And there were times where, he throws, I think, 2 picks. It's so the little things, a special teams play, a blocked punt, a huge punt return, a tip ball that somebody dives for and makes the interception. Those type plays usually happen for the team that finds a way to win a playoff game.
100%. You bring up special teams, and we could just dive into special teams right now. Special teams is going to be very important. Buffalo's kick returner has the most 40-yard kick returns. So they have been explosive in the kick return game. We saw special teams play a huge role, whether it was the blocked punt that the Rams let up, which kept that game close, blocked field goals. Brandon McManus, our Super Bowl 50 kicker, missed 3 kicks, 1 extra point, and 2 field goals in Chicago. Special teams is going to play an important role, and it's great that Lutz has been playing really well. But Crawshaw, that is going to be important in this type of game with a guy like Shakir. Do not kick the ball into the middle of the field. I saw that way too much this past weekend, and for everybody out there, one of the reasons why that's important for punt, if you kick the ball into the middle of the field, the returner now has a 2-way go. You want to pin these guys, these players on the sideline. If you're playing against a guy like a Marvin Mims, who's an incredible returner, you try to pin him to the sideline, but can you talk about special teams and what type of role that is going to play?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I was talking about. The little things, I think, will decide who wins on Saturday. It'll be special teams. It'll be a block punt. It'll be a 41-yard punt return that flips the field and gives whichever team really good field position. It'll be a made field goal from 52, and then the other team maybe a miss from 47. You mentioned Brandon McManus, who's been a really good kicker. He missed a 44-yard field goal. I mean, you go back and look at Baltimore and Pittsburgh in the final game of the regular season. I mean, yes, kicking at Pittsburgh Heinz Field can be very tough because of the conditions, but they missed a 44-yard field goal to get to the playoffs. The season is over. So it's the team and the players that, while acknowledging the pressure involved, you either win or you lose and go home. But it's the guys that are going to be able to handle that pressure. It's the guys that don't take a stupid penalty, knocking somebody out of bounds on a punt return because, you got a little chippy 2 punt returns ago, and he talked about whatever, liking your mom in a way that you didn't think he should be liking your mom. So you got to put that behind you. You can't knock his ass out of bounds when he's too still. It's being disciplined and situationally aware of the big moment. And the team that handles that the best usually finds a way to win the game.
100%. And it's great that the Broncos have another All-Pro on special teams and Devon Key, most special teams tackles in a season for a Broncos player. So it's incredible that you have that type of player on your special teams unit. But I think, people should be watching out for punt. But then also, on the flip side, Marvin Mims, this is where he can be a game changer and an X factor. I think he could be one on offense, obviously, but this is where I think he can really be – he can flip the game because of his explosive ability. And it's all hands on deck. People who will be back there, I expect Marvin Mims to go back there on kick return, and I expect maybe it's him and Jaleel back there. You want explosive plays. Wherever you can get the advantage, that is what it's about for special teams.
So how about that quarterback, Bo Nix? Speaking of him playing well, if you're as hyped as we are, you can now get the brand new limited edition Bo Nix card. I want to talk about an awesome product that our friends over at Int Credit Union are offering to help us Bronco fans make the most of the season. For those of you who don't know them, Int is the largest credit union in Colorado, proudly serving communities all over the state, and they're also the official banking partner of the Denver Broncos. And their Broncos checking account is loaded with all kinds of perks. How about this? Every 15 swipes on your Broncos checking debit card enters you for the chance to win home game tickets, a Bronco debit card, and also a limited edition Bo Nix one that is available right now. You also get 10% off food and gear on game days at Empower Field, and no surprise fees. So if you're ready to bank like a Bronco, head over to int.com/DNVR and you can learn more. Insured by NCUA, membership required, account requires associated Int Broncos debit card.
This Broncos offense versus this Buffalo defense. Now, everybody is going to talk about the opportunity to run the ball, and you saw Jacksonville do that yesterday. Travis Etienne, 10 carries for 67 yards, 21 long. Tootin, 4 for 51 with a 20-yard. And then you saw Trevor use his legs, 6 carries for 31. They had 150 yards of rushing. I think, obviously,
and
that's
lost.
The way. Yeah, I mean, that's the way that you attack this defense. What are your thoughts so far just on the Buffalo defense that is, shaking the run game, but they're veterans in the back end?
Yeah, they're ranked number one against the pass, and they have been ranked number one most of the year. They're close, if not there now. They're in the bottom probably 5 in terms of rush defense. And I think NFL coaches spend a lot of time with their analytics people and people to bring them that information, and then you see this and you say, okay, well, this team hadn't been very good against the run, therefore I deduce we need to run the ball. And I think there's merit to that for sure. And I think the Broncos have to be able to run the ball. I think it keeps Josh Allen off the field. And you can't, I believe, ever be in control of the game if you can't run the ball. If you every time you call a run, you're getting hit in the face, a la the Chargers last night, then you put way too much stress on your offensive line and your passing game to hold up in the NFL. So that said, I think the most important stat when it's all said and done is what do the Broncos do when they get to the red zone, right? I mean, they have to be much better than they have been recently. And I just don't think you're going to beat Buffalo settling, for 27-yard field goals. You got to find a way to get the ball in the end zone. The other thing I would say is you look at, the Broncos are the number 1 seed. You and I have talked a lot about that. They got the bye. There's only been one team until Denver this year that was an underdog at home as the number 1 seed in the divisional round of the playoffs. Stop and think about that. Buffalo comes in a 1.5 favorite. Only one other team was an underdog as a home number 1 seed in the divisional round. And I'll give you a clue. The only reason they were an underdog is their starting quarterback was not playing.
And this is what, recent?
Well, recent enough that even with as many hits as you and I have taken, that we should battle through CTE stages and be able to come up with this. Yeah, this would be in the last, say, 5, 6, 7 years.
And their quarterback wasn't playing
and didn't play
home
for the rest of the season. Had a season-ending injury, as it turned out. And the backup quarterback was going to be the guy through the playoffs.
Oh, Nick Foles and Eagles.
Nick Foles.
Yeah.
Right? So, to me, and Sean Payton doesn't need me to tell him anything about getting teams ready. He's shown that ability over a long and successful career. But I'm just saying, since he's not here to talk in the podcast, I'm pointing that out to our guys. Like, okay, I'm just going to show you guys this because this is exactly what people think of us. This is how they view us in this locker room. We are the second team in the history of football to be an underdog at home as a number 1 seed in the first playoff game, in a divisional playoff game, and the other team's starting quarterback was injured. So just, as a coach used to say to me, just put that in your bonnet.
Yep.
And think about that.
In your bonnet.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I love that. I think the Broncos have been underdogs all year.
I do too.
And I think that's really worked.
I do too. You can use that to your advantage too.
And I think it also can work against you in playoffs. And one of the reasons why I say that is because you saw so much emotion in some of these games early on where teams dug themselves a hole. I think one of the things that works for the Broncos this year is that they've played in all these tight games. They've had comebacks. But I don't want these guys to come in here wanting to prove that they are so much better than Buffalo, and how dare you disrespect us that you overshoot gaps or you make mistakes or you play up tight. And I think there have been I think there have been times throughout this entire season where the Broncos have played up tight, whether it be the Thursday night game against the Raiders and wanting to come out and show, hey, we're on primetime television. They've played tight in too many games, especially offensively, where I think that mentality could work against them. I think Sean has always found little ways to motivate. I don't think you need any more motivation in the playoffs because it is such a win or go home situation. It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. I want to ask you just about your thoughts on this secondary. Tre'Davious White, Jordan Poyer, 2 veterans that necessarily haven't been super great and who they used to be in the past, but are veterans, and you saw them make plays yesterday. What do you think about the matchups on the back end? You got Cortland, you got Troy, who runs a post last year to beat them over the top. What do you think about the matchup now between this Broncos receiving core and this veteran Buffalo secondary?
Yeah, I think that, again, statistically speaking, they're at or near the top of being the best pass defense in the league. I think they're okay in terms of pressure. I think this is a game. I mean, to me, this is a game. I mean, players have to go out and execute the game plan. I am so anxious to see the game plan. Mm-hmm. I want to see. If I'm Greg Pinner, Kerry Walton Pinner, this is why we brought Sean Payton here.
Yep.
We feel like my mindset would be, we feel like we have an advantage. We got a great offensive mind, great play creator, great play caller. He's proven it a long time. I want to see it. Saturday. I want to see it Saturday. And I know he's fully capable of it. Now, then the players have to go out and execute it.
Yep.
Right? You got to go out and execute it. So to me, again, there's a fine line, a balance between being like too tight and being so loose that you're like, oh, well, so that's the third pick in the first quarter? Don't worry about that. We've shown we can come back. So you don't want to do either one of those two things. But you're going to have to score to beat Buffalo. So how does Sean dial stuff up that takes advantage of the current personnel he has? You are who you are. You have who you have. So who's going to be the guy that you try to scheme up to get on a certain defender? Is it Court in the middle of the field? I mean, the last game, Charger game, they really didn't throw much to Cortland or Troy.
Yeah.
So what's it going to look like? I mean, I'd like to be a little fly. I don't want to be a fly, like a little, maybe a bird, like a little quiet-ass bird sitting in Sean's office this week as he sits there and runs that thing back and forth and tries to determine how are we going to attack this.
Yeah. I was looking at the explosive plays this morning. It was crazy I put myself back in that mindset. So I looked at the explosive plays from the entire season of other offenses going against Buffalo's defense. You're going to have opportunities on crossers. Deep crossers. Evan Ingram on a deep crosser. We
saw that yesterday in Jacksonville.
Yeah. You're going to have those opportunities. Will you be able to make those plays? Will Bo be able to make those throws? I think also what's important is that contested catches and tight window throws. Jacksonville, they play some man, but it's a lot of zone. They blitz a lot of different people, drop a lot of different people out, try to confuse you. But there will be opportunities for catch and run, and you're going to have to make these plays. When you look at the Rams versus Panthers, Puka Nacua catches a 2-yard screen, but then ends up scoring.
Great. It was an unbelievable play.
Unbelievable play. But
that thing
Marvin
was dead
Mims,
in the water.
Yeah. Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin. That's what the playoffs is all about. How do you make these guys miss? And you're going to have those opportunities. All right, who from the Broncos, from their weapons, who's got to have their best game? And it doesn't have to be for those out here who are listening. We saw different people throughout the entire league have the game of their lives. Parker Washington went.
I learned about him when Jacksonville played here in Denver.
Yeah, and he's been, with Travis Hunter going down, he's obviously stepped up into this role and made plays. Yep. But then you have the young kid from Carolina, 18. I forgot his last name. Game of his life with a couple of different touchdowns and catching the ball. So you're seeing all these different players, and there are some unsung heroes in this game. Who could it be for Denver?
Man, that's a good question. I mean, I think everything, no surprise here, it all starts with Bo and the protection for Bo. There's a fine line between wanting to be really aggressive and push the ball downfield and making sure that you have enough hats in front of Bo protecting him. And so, again, to me, this is a scheme game. It's not a game that what I mean by scheme is you've got maybe 5 to 8 plays that are specific at certain points of the field that you want, and I know I'm going to get this coverage, and if we don't, we'll check out of it to that situation 5 to 8 times. It's not just your normal stuff, and we're going to run a normal concept, and let's just read this defense and then throw the ball where you should.
And I think an example of that, as you're just talking about that, would be the 1st and 10. If you watch the San Francisco-Philly game, the 1st and 10, they run a jet sweep reverse pass where Juwan Jennings throws it to Christian McCaffrey. You knew what type of defense you were going to get on 1st and 10,
yep.
And you had that play design.
I have no idea why Reed Blankenship just completely turned loose McCaffrey.
Yeah, just stop running.
Just stop running. But I think in terms of who it might be, I always count on veteran players, guys that have been through it. So I'm going to feed Cortland. I'm going to get him the ball. I'm going to force Buffalo to cover him, and even at times when he's covered, we're telling Bo to throw the ball. If I get a coverage here with a certain cornerback that I feel good about, whether it's the back shoulder, whether it's the 50-50 ball over the middle. And I think you have to free up Bo to the extent that we've seen him from time to time, not consistently this year, but we've seen him from time to time where it looked like they were in the attack mode, right? You think of the Cowboys game, the Bengals, even though the Bengals, weren't very good. Kansas City, the home win for the Broncos. I thought, they hit a 3rd and 15 on that route to Cortland. So they were attacking. I don't think you put yourself in the best position to win if you're trying to over-manage this game and just say, okay, we're not making any mistakes. The worst thing we do is punt, we punt. I get that logic. I really do. But if you over-manage the game, I think you prevent your quarterback and other guys from just making natural plays that they have the ability to make. The downfall to that mindset is he may throw a ball that is not going to be where you want it.
Yeah.
And maybe it gets picked. Now, can you lose games in the playoffs? If you turn the ball over, you can. So that's what I think Sean this week is probably going back and forth, because I want to attack. I want to put these jokers back on their heels. I want to have a lead. I want to make them come from behind. But I don't want to make any mistakes, and I want to control the ball. We got to run the ball and keep Josh Allen off, and that's the dilemma.
It's one of the best things is about the playoffs is now that these one-game seasons, and Broncos have the home field advantage.
Yep.
And playing at altitude is something. But if you look at any of those games from the playoffs yesterday, home field advantage is only a little bit. How are these guys, and you just talked about it, going to be able to control their emotions? My brother always talks about this with some of his players in big games that he's played in, is that once the emotion dies down, it's just football. But
That's
you
right.
have to be able to weather the storm. Broncos have done that throughout this year, but you don't want to put yourself, like you said, in a position where you're having these 3 and outs. And the more opportunities Josh Allen gets to see this Vance Joseph defense, they go out there and make plays. I also think this is a big Bo Nix game in terms of his legs. We've saw it the last couple weeks. You've talked about it countless of times where, hey, want to see some more. And Sean talked about it like, hey, if you don't like something the last couple weeks, go ahead and use your legs. You saw Trevor Lawrence extend drives. I believe you can get these guys like Bosa really tired in this altitude with Bo just extending drives, a couple of quarterback runs. You saw that with Drake May, the leading rusher for the Patriots.
Yep.
You saw it with Caleb Williams extending plays and getting the Packers off balance in their comeback win. Bo, if you see green grass, take it, brother.
Yeah, I like that idea too. We've talked a lot about that the last few weeks. I think he's, I think he's a top 5 athlete playing quarterback.
Best athlete in this game? Because Josh he's beat up. I think he might be. I think Bo Nix is a better athlete than Josh Allen. I think he's a stronger and faster runner. Josh obviously has the arm talent. But
I don't know. If Josh Allen is healthy and Bo Nix is healthy, like before a season, and they ran a 40, I'm not sure who'd win that.
Oh, I think Bo would win that. I think Bo would win
What
that.
Josh run at his combine? It would be interesting.
Probably
I think
4.5.
Josh Allen is pretty fat. Well, Bo didn't run better than 4.5.
He did? Not at the combine?
I don't think so. Bo Nix?
Yeah.
You think he ran 4.4 something?
I said 4.5.
Well, I said better than 4.5, which would be 4.4 something.
Yeah, but I don't think Josh Allen's a 4.5 guy. You think he is? I think if they were running next to each other, Bo Nix wins the race.
I think we're probably splitting hairs. I think both of them. I mean, to me, when healthy, I think both those guys are top 5 athletes at quarterback. I think Bo is a terrific athlete, an underrated athlete, and faster than I thought. And I think Josh Allen is a monster for his size. And so I like the idea about running Bo. I think what we saw over the weekend, Drake May, not really design quarterback runs, but aware when the opportunity presented with man coverage, what have you. Yeah, I can ran for 37 yards on one snap.
Yeah.
Those type plays are such huge plays, especially in the playoffs. The other thing I would say is early in this game, again, if it were me, I would dial up at least a couple of shots where I'm going downfield. I'm throwing downfield. I don't have the stats in front of me, but have called every single game. And there are times where it feels like a defense can sort of condense this Broncos offense. And what I mean by that is they sit on things, right, with either Court or whomever, and it just makes it hard to execute the offense, right? Because whether they're playing some version of cover 2 with the corners and the flat, what have you, the safeties are down a little bit. There's just, to me, I think it's more of a message thing. You want to hit it, obviously, excuse me, but more of a message thing like, hey, you know what? You guys might want to back up a little bit today, because I promise you this, we're throwing the ball deep more than these 2 times right here.
Yeah.
So
who you did you say who you're picking in terms of the big breakout game
for
the Broncos against this defense?
Oh, big breakout game.
Or not necessarily breakout game, but who is the X factor that you think, given the opportunities?
I would say the X factor for me here might be Jaleel. He's explosive. He's got as much juice as anybody you have. He makes as many plays as anybody you have. I know you can't play him every single down, and RJ certainly had his moments too. But I would find ways. I wouldn't be opposed to, cutting the split of a receiver and motioning Jaleel out of the backfield and throwing him a hitch. Throw it on time, let whomever is playing corner come up and try to tackle him. You look for opportunities to get your guys that are deserving to space. And Jaleel's one of those guys. RJ is one of those guys in a different way. He's maybe not quite as quick as Jaleel, but he's harder to tackle. Jaleel's easier to get on the ground. RJ's hard to get in the ground. So same thing. I would think the backs in this game for the Broncos would be weapons that I would utilize in that passing game and try to get them isolated on people that I don't think can cover them.
I think that's, just on the show upstairs, I said that this could be a Jaleel game just based off of what you watched, the explosive runs against Buffalo's defense yesterday in terms of the tosses that they ran. Jaleel has that type of space, or has that type of home run speed where he can hit those opportunities. They did a lot of toss cracks. They did a lot of outside zones. And I think Jaleel, like you said, he could, he has a different type of skill set than anybody else on this team in terms of his ability to make people miss in a phone booth. If I had to pick somebody, it'd probably be Evan Ingram. I think this could be a big Evan Ingram game in terms of the deep cross, the zones, and finding the areas in the zones. There's going to have to be some catch and run opportunities, tight end screens, but there's going to be an X factor, and I think it could be an Evan Ingram game.
Yeah, I think that if you look at Ingram's production this year, I haven't heard him say anything but positive things in the locker room. I think deep down he probably would like to be involved a little bit more. So Ingram and Pat Bryant, right? I think there's a belief in that building about the rookie receiver that, we can play him anywhere and cut his split and ask him to dig out a safety or crack on a defensive end, and he is not scared to do it. He will do it. But I also think there's a belief that he's got a really nice knack. We were talking earlier about guys that run a route and then they can just sort of slide and uncover and present their numbers to that quarterback, and that quarterback is looking for anybody, and here he is, and he's going to catch the ball, and he's an above-average runner after the catch. So Ingram, I think, could be a possibility, but I also would think Pat Bryant is a guy that the Broncos might utilize a lot on Saturday.
Yeah. Well, this has been great. It's going to be an interesting game. This, to me, is it's a weird matchup. If they were playing Jacksonville, how you want to kind of play them. If they were playing the Chargers, how you want to play them. Buffalo presents offensively a weird matchup, even defensively. Some of the things that they play and the players that they rely on. It's going to be interesting to see the cat and mouse game and the strategy of Sean and Vance.
Yeah, I think it's going to be absolutely interesting. I think the Broncos have to be aware that Buffalo, there are times, and you and I played in the league, there are times you went into an opposing stadium and you thought you could win and you hoped you could win, and you said, we need a couple of things, a big play in special teams or what have you. I think Buffalo comes in completely confident they can win.
Yep.
And they're a good team. And that makes them even more dangerous because there's a belief that we can beat these guys. These guys are not that good. And so I think Denver has to have the same belief, and it can't be something that is stirred up emotionally during the week.
Yep.
Because as you said, that fades when the game starts. But they have to and what I hold on to is this team, the Broncos, have done it all year long.
Yes.
They've been behind. They've come back. They've been out of games. They got back in games. I mean, they are resilient. And so from an opposing standpoint, these guys, the Broncos, they are hard to kill.
Yeah.
I mean, they are hard to kill, man. So I think it's going to be a great game on Saturday. Cannot wait to broadcast it. And I think, you know what? I think could the Bills win? They could, but I think the Broncos will win.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. And the final point I will make that I will be watching for, where people get caught up and where coaches have gotten caught up when you play a Josh Allen, more so. This is what's happened in Buffalo the last couple years. When they play a Patrick Mahomes, they get into this, it's Josh versus Patrick, and that's how you end up losing the game. I hope that Sean doesn't get caught up in showing that this is a Bo Nix versus Josh game.
Yeah, I do too.
Don't get caught up in the plays of, hey, we're going to pass and we're going to show that Bo's a better quarterback than Josh, because that's how you end up losing a game, where I want to show on the other side that my quarterback is better than your quarterback. Just do what you have to do to win.
Yeah. I mean, that's – you know what? And I think we've talked about that. I mean, Sean loves Bo. Sean was the guy that drafted Bo. Sean made it certain that everybody knew that he liked him, but he was out in front of it even before he played his first game. Basically, he said, you guys are going to see, you guys have been wrong about this guy. And I think every chance that you get to sort of emphasize that from a coaching standpoint, you probably take advantage of it. But I'm with you on this. I think this is a game that you've got to absolutely not get caught up in any of that, not try to be the smartest guy in the room. Just find a way to attack on both sides of the ball and in special teams. I think this game, honestly, could come down to a special teams moment, and that's where the Broncos, we've seen them really good, and we've seen them not so good.
Yep.
You can't have any of those not so good moments where you're getting a kick blocked, or you can't have that. You cannot have that at this stage. And so that's something that I'm sure they'll work on the entire week.
Absolutely. Broncos country will be loud, man. We'll be looking forward to hearing you on the call. It's going to be exciting. Everybody, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Broncos X's and O's. God bless Bo Nix.
We all silly like the mayor.